From our Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum. I am Ahmed Ramadan. USDA issues health alert for E. coli in halal beef sold at Georgia store. Consumers urged to throw it away. No illnesses reported yet. This and more in our today's show, so stay tuned. Israel has attacked humanitarian aid ship en route to Gaza by drones in international waters near Malta, the Freedom Flotilla coalition said on Friday. The vessel was hit twice at the front, causing a fire and damage to its hull. The 30 Turkish and Azeri activists on board sent an SOS before losing contact. Maltese officials said the fire aboard the ship had been controlled and it is being monitored. A coalition spokesperson called the drone attack part of Israel's genocidal war on Gaza. The ship is part of the Freedom Flotilla Coalition, a group of international human rights and peace organizations from more than a dozen countries, backed by civil groups. Their mission is to break Israel's blockade on Gaza and deliver much-needed aid. Observers say the incident echoes the 2010 Gaza Freedom Flotilla raid when Israeli forces stormed a convoy of ships carrying aid. That Israeli raid, launched from helicopters and speedboats, killed 9 activists on one vessel and triggered global condemnation. It also severely strained relations between Turkey and Israel and forced Israel to ease some restrictions on Gaza. The 2010 flotilla was organized by the Free Gaza movement and Turkey's Humanitarian Relief Foundation. Israel killed at least 37 Palestinians in airstrikes across Gaza on Friday, according to medical sources. 9 people were killed in an airstrike on a home in Buruj refugee camp in central Gaza. All victims belong to the same family. Another 6 were killed in Beit Lahia in the north when the Al-Masri family home was bombed. A separate Israeli strike on Gaza City's Sheikh Radwan neighborhood killed 2 more. A community kitchen in Gaza City was also hit, killing 6. 5 people were reported killed in a strike on a charitable foundation near Al-Jalaa Street. The Red Cross has warned that Gaza's humanitarian system is on the brink of collapse. It said Israel's 2-month blockade on humanitarian aid has left it unable to sustain life-saving programs. The UN's Palestine Refugee Agency, or UNRWA, called the continued siege collective punishment of innocent civilians. The Palestinian Health Ministry reports that Israel has killed at least 52,418 people and wounded more than 118,000 since it began its genocide in Gaza in October 2023. However, experts say the actual death toll is likely to have surpassed 61,700, including many people presumed dead under rubble. The Israeli army renewed its violence on Gaza on March 18, shattering a January 19 ceasefire and prisoner exchange deal with Hamas. The International Criminal Court issued arrest warrants last November for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant for war crimes and crimes against humanity in Gaza. Israel also faces a genocide case at the International Court of Justice for its actions in Gaza. Hundreds of illegal Israeli settlers stormed Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in occupied East Jerusalem on Thursday. The incursion coincided with Israel's Independence Day, marking 77 years since its founding. Palestinians remember the occasion as the Nakba, where a catastrophe when Israel expelled and displaced hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from their homeland in 1948. Nearly 350 settlers, escorted by Israeli police, entered the holy site from the Al-Mugharaba gate and performed Talmudic rituals. Among them was far-right Israeli Rabbi Yehuda Glick. More settlers were expected later in the day, following calls from extremist groups. Al-Aqsa is Islam's 3rd holiest site. Jews refer to it as the Temple Mount, citing ancient religious ties. Since 2003, Israeli authorities have allowed settlers to enter the compound almost daily, except on Fridays and Saturdays. Israel occupied East Jerusalem in 1967 and later annexed it, an action never recognized internationally. Police arrested unarmed Jewish activist Medea Benjamin while she was protesting at Congress against Israel's genocide in Gaza. Co-founder of the anti-war group Code Pink, Benjamin was dragged out and searched multiple times for interrupting a congressional hearing. Footage shows the officers handling her roughly, sparking outrage online. She later said she and those with her were treated like criminals for speaking out peacefully. Code Pink is a Jewish-led group known for non-violent protests and calls to end U.S. military aid to Israel. The video of the arrest has gone viral, with the rights groups demanding answers. There has been no official comment yet from Capitol Police. The Department of Agriculture, or USDA, has issued a public health alert for halal ground beef sold by Bismillah Halal Meats in Marietta, Georgia. The beef may be contaminated with the bacteria E. coli 0103. The affected products were sold directly to consumers between April 10 and 23. They were packaged and labeled in store and did not have a USDA inspection mark. Although the beef no longer is on sale, officials worry some may still be in home freezers. The USDA urges people not to eat it and to throw it away or return it. The contamination was found during routine testing by the USDA's Food and Safety Inspection Service. No illnesses have been reported yet. E. coli 0103 is a dangerous bacteria that can cause bloody diarrhea and vomiting. Symptoms typically appear between 2 and 8 days after eating the bacteria. In rare cases, it may lead to hemolytic uremic syndrome, a serious type of kidney failure. Children under 5, the elderly, and those with weak immune systems are most at risk. It is marked by easy bruising, pallor, and decreased urine output. People who experience these symptoms should immediately seek emergency medical care. President Donald Trump has created a new presidential commission on religious liberty, but the panel's leadership is drawing sharp criticism for its anti-Muslim stance. Trump signed an executive order establishing the commission at a National Day of Prayer event in the White House Rose Garden. Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who is known for boycotting a Muslim prayer in the Senate, will serve as chair. Trump credited him with the idea for the panel. The White House says the group will draft a report on protecting religious liberty, increasing awareness of pluralism, and addressing threats to religious freedom. The Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR, condemned the move, warning that the panel includes well-known Islamophobes. These include Patrick, Dr. Ben Carson, and Pastor Franklin Graham. All three have made inflammatory remarks about Islam in the past. Carson said no Muslim should ever become U.S. president, and Franklin Graham called Islam evil. CAIR urged the Trump administration to ensure religious liberty for all Americans, not just Christians. Experts argue that stacking the commission with anti-Muslim voices undermines the very pluralism the panel claims to promote. Trump previously launched a White House faith office and ordered the Justice Department to focus on anti-Christian bias. A young Muslim man stabbed to death while praying in France. Paris rallies for justice as Islamophobia concerns grow. Details and more coming up next. Thousands took to the streets across the U.S. on Thursday to mark May Day, also known as International Workers' Day. The rallies were part of a national wave of protests led by the May Day Strong Coalition and the 5501 movement. Demonstrators called out what they termed President Donald Trump's billionaire agenda. They accuse him of attacking workers' rights, unions, immigrants, and defenders of Palestine. Protesters called for investment in public schools, healthcare, and working families instead of profits for billionaires and hedge funds. Organizers say Trump and his allies are driving a race to the bottom on wages, benefits, and dignity. From small towns to big cities, the message was that protesters want a fair economy and a government that prioritizes people over profits. Observers say May Day, which historically is rooted in the struggle of workers, saw renewed energy this year across the U.S. Pakistan has launched full-scale military drills near the India border amid escalating tensions following a deadly attack in Kashmir last week. State media reports that the exercises are underway in the cities of Sialkot, Narowal, and Zafarwal in northeastern Punjab, near the working boundary with India. The drills feature live demonstrations of advanced weaponry, showcasing the Army's combat readiness. Radio Pakistan said the goal is to ensure a decisive response to any enemy aggression. Tensions spiked after the April 22 attack in Indian-administered Kashmir, where unidentified gunmen killed 26 people in the hill station of Pahalgam. India blamed cross-border elements for the violence and called for a joint investigation, a claim Pakistan denies. Both sides exchanged small arms fire along the line of control in the disputed region. Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister Ishaq Dar said his country would not escalate first, but warned of a strong response if provoked. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio urged both countries to de-escalate. He spoke separately with Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and India's Foreign Minister Subrahmanyam Jaishankar, calling for calm and regional stability. The nuclear-armed neighbors have fought multiple wars over Kashmir, and the current flare-up has raised global concern. Iranian media has accused the UN nuclear watchdog chief of misleading the US and derailing nuclear talks. The Tehran Times claims that Rafael Grossi, head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, gave false reports on Iran's nuclear program to Washington under pressure from the UK, France, and Germany. According to the report, Grossi tried to influence Iran-US negotiations, originally scheduled for May 3rd in Rome but delayed due to logistics. Oman is mediating the talks. Tehran says Grossi's actions cast doubt on Iran's peaceful nuclear intentions and have disrupted diplomacy. Tensions have risen after the U.S. imposed new sanctions on 7 firms linked to Iran's oil trade, including companies in the UAE and Turkey. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth warned Iran over its support to Yemen's Houthis, vowing retaliation. Iran hit back, calling U.S. statements contradictory and provocative during sensitive talks. Both sides earlier reported progress following indirect talks and an exchange of letters between leaders. The largest known mass grave linked to the regime of former Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has been discovered in the Al-Tal area, just north of the capital, Damascus. The site is believed to contain thousands of bodies secretly buried for more than a decade in Syria's civil war. In an interview, Hussein Alawi, a former truck driver who worked for the regime, revealed how the bodies were collected from prisons and military hospitals. That included the notorious Sidnaya prison. He said they were transported in covered trucks to remote burial sites such as Al-Tal and later Al-Qutayfa. Alawi said each truck carried up to 250 corpses every week. The bodies were marked with numbers, but no names. Many showed clear signs of torture or decomposition. Bulldozers were used to dump them into mass graves and cover them up. Military vehicles escorted the convoys, and the operations were conducted in broad daylight. He said the burials continued until just weeks before the regime's collapse last December. Civil defense teams and investigators are now verifying the Al-Tal site, considered the largest mass grave confirmed so far. Similar graves have recently been uncovered across Syria, including in the cities of Aleppo, Homs, and several areas around Damascus. The discoveries reveal the full scale of atrocities committed during Assad's rule. Uyghur rights activists are slamming Harvard University for training officials from a Chinese paramilitary group accused of human rights abuses in Chinese-occupied East Turkestan, officially called Xinjiang. The officials from Xinjiang Production and Construction Corps, or XPCC, which is under U.S. sanctions, attended executive public health training at Harvard's T.H. Chan School in 2023 and 2024. The XPCC is sanctioned under the Global Magnitsky Act for its role in forced labor, mass surveillance, and internment of Uyghurs. U.S. law prohibits cooperation with such entities. Rights groups say Harvard's involvement lends legitimacy to an organization accused of genocide. They cite forced sterilizations, unethical experiments, and mass detentions carried out by the XPCC. Harvard says the training was run in partnership with China's National Healthcare Security Administration, and the XPCC officials were included by Chinese authorities. Critics say U.S. universities must respect sanctions and avoid deals that could aid repression. Harvard has not responded directly to the criticism. The controversy adds to scrutiny over Harvard's foreign ties, especially with China. U.S. data shows Harvard received nearly $70 million from Chinese sources between 2019 and 2022. A large memorial was held in Paris for Abu Bakr Cissé, a 24-year-old Muslim man fatally stabbed while praying at a mosque in southern France last Friday. The gathering at Place de la République drew crowds demanding justice. Cissé's family, lawmakers from the France Unbowed, the Green Party, and comedian Samia Orizmain joined the event. Placards read, "No to hatred against Muslims and justice for Abu Bakr Cissé." Cissé, a Malian national, was killed at Hati's Mosque in La Grande Combe. Police say he was stabbed between 40 and 50 times. The suspect, Oliver H., a French citizen of Bosnian origin, fled the country but turned himself in to police in Italy on Sunday. Cissé's death has shocked France and sparked calls to confront Islamophobia. Investigations are ongoing as tributes pour in for the slain youth. A new Princeton University study has found that the number of birds in North America is plummeting, especially in areas where they once thrived. Using data from the app eBird, it revealed that 76% of nearly 500 species are in decline. 2/3 of those are shrinking fast, with some areas losing more than 10% of bird populations annually. The steepest drops are in former strongholds such as grasslands, drylands, and the Arctic. Global warming and habitat destruction are likely causes, but researchers say more data is needed. However, they did find that 97% of species had small pockets of growth, especially in the Appalachians and Western Mountains. That's all from our Toronto studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Salam.